Hello. I hope that you are doing well today. Wondering how you're feeling as we kind of launch into full holiday mode. Holidays can be a roller coaster for a lot of people, for all of us, I think, at some point. And depending on what your year's been like, they may be bumpier or not. So I hope that you are doing well and that you're feeling okay as we go into the season. And if you're not, um, sending you a lot of love and just remember to take time for yourself and give yourself a lot of love and self care and compassion and try and spend time with people whose company you enjoy. Um, so it's kind of hard to believe that 2022 is almost over. Um, it just, I feel like people all year have been saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's March. I can't believe it's June. I can't believe it's August. It seems like the year has just kind of flown by. And we only have about 4 weeks left. So it's the time of year that people start to reflect on how things have gone, and they think about the goals that they set back in January and did they reach those goals or not. And sometimes, depending on how you feel, you may feel really great about where you are, and that's great, and which is going to be motivating to keep going. You may not feel so great, and sometimes when that happens, people just decide, oh, the hell with it, I might as well just live it up between now and December 31st, and then I will start over in January. I kind of like to think about this time as a time to shore up for next year. I like to think about where I am and where I want to be in the next year. And I start to think about how I can take these next few weeks to build a foundation so that I can set myself up for a really strong beginning in January and I can really hit the ground running. So, a couple of things that I've done to kind of prepare for that is I just signed myself up for a new coaching program that I'm really excited about. I will be being coached. And so I'm excited about that because I think that it's going to be a really great experience. And I am anticipating a lot of personal growth, which I'm sure will not all be fun, but will ultimately be rewarding. And I have also made some commitments to myself in my business, some steps that I have already started to take that are going to move my business into 2023 and really help me continue to grow. So, I'm excited about those things and I feel like I know what I want to get done. I know, I'm here at point A and I know I want to get to point B, so I'm not going to wait because why? Why wait? If I already know what I want to do, got the time, let's go. So that's why I wanted to talk to you today about the value of a life coach. Because if you are reflecting back on your year and you're feeling like it was less than what you had hoped for, or maybe you feel like, it wasn't a bad year, and life is pretty good, and you have a lot of things that you're grateful for, but there's something that's missing. You may not even know exactly what it is, but it just feels like there's something that you're looking for and you haven't found it yet. Or maybe you just have one or two areas in your life that you just can't seem to figure out what works for you. Like you got it together in 95% of your life, but these small areas just for whatever reason seem to be stumbling blocks and you just would really like to iron that out so that you can feel like you've got them under control. So, you might want to think about life coaching. It's an opportunity to get to know yourself better, to understand what's holding you back, and make some fundamental changes in the way that you view yourself and the world. So it can be life changing, and it can really add so much to your life, and really change your life in ways that you can't even really imagine. One of the things that we talk about in life coaching is this idea of blowing your own mind. So just like opening you up to possibilities that you had never even considered before, um, just by the way that you learn to train your brain and change your thinking. But before I talk about what life coaching is, I want to talk about what it isn't, because I think there are a lot of questions around what's the difference between life coaching and therapy. And there is definitely overlap between the two, but they are not the same thing. And so I just wanted to give a little bit of clarification on what the differences are so that you can decide what might be the better option for you. Um, so there are many life coaches who are trained therapists. Um, I've heard of a lot of therapists who have moved into life coaching, or maybe incorporate the two together. Although I'm not really sure. I feel like if they've been trained as a life coach, they kind of become a life coach and use their therapeutic background. Um, but I don't know that for sure, and it may vary from person to person. Um, but it's not a given that a life coach is going to be a therapist. I am not a therapist. I've had a lot of therapy in my life, and I definitely am a believer in the process. But I've also found that life coaching serves a different need. And for me, I found that um, I really started to make a lot of progress more quickly when I made the shift from therapy to life coaching. Now, it may have been that because I had built that foundation in therapy, I was then ready. Sorry, I'm really thirsty tonight. Um, I was then ready for coaching. I was in a place because of the therapy. Um, but that was my experience, and not that I didn't get value out of therapy, because I absolutely did, but I did feel like once when I transitioned into coaching, I moved more quickly. But therapy is really great if you have past trauma that you haven't worked through, if you are dealing with depression or anxiety or another mental health disorder, particularly if that is preventing you from functioning, really effectively in your life or in parts of your life. Therapy tends to focus on the past and understanding why you are where you are. And it's also based on a clinical diagnosis, and there is a clinical protocol that's often followed based on that diagnosis. So, foot coaching focuses on the present. What is going on in your mind and your body right now, and how is that impacting the way you feel and act in your life? You do sometimes in coaching touch on things from your past, but it's not in the same way that you would in therapy, and you don't spend as much time talking about the past in coaching as you do in therapy. Um, in coaching, we look at what are the beliefs that are holding you back from creating what you want in your life, and how can you learn to shift those beliefs into beliefs that are going to help you move forward. It's really about retraining your brain, um, and releasing stuck emotions from your body. So it's really learning how to think differently, and to train your brain. And it's a practice, it's not something that happens overnight. Um, but it's learning to train your brain to think about things in a completely different way. So, coaching is something that you might want to consider if any of the following things resonate for you. Maybe you feel stuck. No matter what you do, you can't seem to get traction in your life. Maybe it's your life in general, or maybe it's those one or two areas that you just, for whatever reason, you can't get a handle on your money, or your health, or your weight. Um, so you just feel stuck, and you feel like you've tried all these things and just nothing's working. You may have that feeling that something's missing. things are pretty good. You look around, there's nothing you can identify that is, causing you negative emotion, but there's still something missing that you haven't figured out. Maybe you repeat ineffective patterns. So maybe you're a chronic procrastinator or an overspender, or you, you declutter your house and then a year later you're right back where you started. Um, you may have a stress level that's really high. You may feel chronically overwhelmed and anxious, and just feel like you are constantly running on adrenaline. Maybe you're overdoing something. You're overeating, you're overworking, you're overspending, you're binge watching television, maybe you're over drinking. Those things tend to happen when we have emotions that we don't want to deal with. Maybe you feel like you could make a change, like you are capable of making a change, but you're just not sure how to do it or what to do, or you feel like you just need someone to be that accountability partner to bounce ideas off of, someone who's going to kind of, push you when you don't really want to be pushed and when you're not going to push yourself. Or you may feel like you you really have no idea what to do and you need someone. You want to make the changes, but you need someone to be there to show you what you need to do. So any and all of those reasons and lots of others, but are situations in which working with a life coach may be the right thing for you. So maybe you're thinking, okay, this life coaching thing, it sounds like maybe I'm in a place where I can benefit from that. Well, what does it look like? Because you said it's not therapy, so what is it? So every coach's process is a little bit different, but most coaches have kind of a general procedure that they use, at least initially, that's going to look pretty much the same. So most coaches are going to offer you a free, um, no obligation consultation, and some people do it for 15 or 20 minutes, some people do it for an hour, but it's an opportunity for you to meet them and get a sense of who they are, and to tell them the issues that you're dealing with and the changes that you want to make, and where you see yourself going and where you want to be. And then the coach would talk to you about the ways that they would work with you to help you get to that place. And then if you decide to work with them, you get to work and you figure out why you are where you are and how you're going to change it. So for me, when I work with my clients, I have 5 steps that I take them through. Um, and they're not necessarily linear. They can be, but often they kind of are cyclical and they overlap. But the 5 steps are loving yourself right where you are, getting clear on what you want, creating a plan to get there, setting healthy boundaries, and cultivating gratitude and joy. I always start with loving yourself right where you are, because what I find is that when someone is struggling or they're feeling stuck, somewhere in their mind, it's not always conscious, sometimes it is, they have a belief that they should be further along by now, there's something wrong with them, they're failing, they're just not enough in some way. And so they're judging themselves and kind of beating themselves up, even if they don't quite realize it. But it's there and it's keeping them stuck. So that's where we start. And it doesn't mean that we're going to spend all of our time at first talking about that. But it does mean that when someone tells me about where they are and what's going on, I'm going to ask them if where they are is a problem or what they're making it mean about themselves. And almost always, those critical thoughts and feelings are going to come up. So then we start to look at why they think that. Is it really true? Could they look at things in a different way? And I may ask them, is it possible for you to be struggling and scared and maybe feel like a mess and still be lovable and still be enough in spite of all of that? And the answer is always yes. Yes, it's possible. But knowing that and believing it are two very different things. So it's something that we work on over and over. And one of my big tools that I use is tapping, EFT, emotional freedom technique, or tapping. I use that in every coaching session. It looks different in every session and with every client. Some sessions will tap for the majority of the session. Some sessions will tap for 5 or 10 minutes. But I use tapping because it is so effective in relaxing the body and calming the mind. And so it's so much easier for those, especially when they're in the subconscious mind, to come up and kind of make themselves known to the person. So what happens a lot of the time is, we'll do a tapping sequence and the person will realize like, oh my gosh, I never realized that I had this thought about myself, like that I don't believe I can do it. I never knew I thought that. And so then we can look at that thought and really question it and consider whether there is another thought that is possible, that is going to be more beneficial to that person. So the main goal of coaching is really to help the client understand their own thinking. We Our brains are really sneaky, and so we have these thoughts that we don't really let ourselves be aware of, but they're driving our feelings and our actions, and they're impacting the results that we are creating in our lives. So there are circumstances in our lives that are neutral, where you live, your job, how much money you make, whether you're married or not, who you're married to, how many kids you have, things like that that everyone can see, and everyone would agree, yes, you live on this street, you work for this company, whatever it is. Those are your neutral circumstances. But the way that you think about them is in your control. And the way that you think about them impacts the way that you feel. It impacts the actions that you may or may not take, and it impacts the results that you will get. So I want to give you an example because sometimes people aren't sure what I mean exactly, or they kind of have an idea, but it's not crystal clear. So I want you to imagine you're driving on the highway and you're minding your own business, and somebody cuts you off in traffic, and they come, they just swerve in front of you, they cut you off, they're really close, everything's fine, there's no accident, nothing happens, they speed off, but you are really shaken up because it was a very close call. So you might ruminate on that all day. You may think to yourself, what a jerk. I can't believe that other driver. They're so careless. They're dangerous. People like that shouldn't be allowed on the road. I could have died. Oh my gosh. And you could just be spinning in your head all day. You may be irritable. You may snap at people. You may be distracted and make mistakes. You're just kind of stuck in that event that happened in the morning, and it impacts your whole day because of your thoughts. Or you could think about it in a different way and think, wow, that was really scary. That could have gone so bad. It really could have been a completely different outcome. I am so lucky that the universe or God or whomever was looking out for me, and nothing happened, and I'm okay. And I am so grateful that I am safe and that I am able to continue with my day. If you have those thoughts, your day is going to look very different than if you have the thoughts that I first described. So you get to choose how you think about any particular situation. It may not feel like a choice because your brain is trained to think about things in a certain way. And so we go into, like, we start spinning in our heads and we feel like we have no control over what's happening. But we do. And that is where a coach comes in, because a coach is going to start to ask you questions about your thoughts and help you to explore whether or not they're true and whether or not they're serving you. Sometimes our thoughts are true. Maybe that driver is a jerk and they're, you know, reckless and dangerous, and maybe they shouldn't be driving. But focusing on that and thinking about that is not going to serve you unless you have some way of, if you have the license plate and you call the police and you report that person, then that's great. That will serve you and keep other people safe. But if the person is gone and you have no way of identifying them, whatever, thinking about what a jerk they are is not going to serve you in any way. So if you can choose a different thought that's going to help you get through your day, then you are just going to be better off. And the people that you're interacting with are going to be better off too, because they're going to get you in a better version of you. So learning to change our thoughts is definitely doable, but it is also a practice and it takes time. And yes, you can learn to do this on your own. But when you're working with a coach who understands the process, you are going to create change so much more quickly. When you invest in yourself and your mental health, I think it's always a smart move because it allows you to be the best version of yourself for you and for the people that love you. And I think sometimes we take our mental health for granted. And I know, so many people are struggling with mental health right now. But I still, in a lot of ways, I think we take it for granted. When you think about, someone who keeps their body in shape, you would never look at an athlete and think, oh, wow, like they're in incredible shape. I can, their muscles are rippling, whatever. They don't have to work out anymore because they've achieved that state and now they're done. We know that in order to maintain that state of athleticism and to, perform on that level, they have to consistently, for hours on end, continue to practice their sport, work out, build their muscle, all of those things. But we don't think about that when it comes to our mental health. It's something that we have to maintain. And in order to maintain it, we have to make the decision that we are going to put in the time to support ourselves mentally and emotionally so that we can keep our mental health where it is, or improve it, especially, again, because there has been so much going on in the world and so many of us have struggled from time to time. It's even more important to really make that investment in ourselves and take the time to learn about our brains and learn how we can manage them so that we can keep ourselves, functioning on a higher plane and just keep ourselves in a better state of mind. So, if coaching sounds like something that you are interested in and that you'd like to explore, I would encourage you to schedule a consultation with a coach that seems like a good fit. And there are lots of different coaches in the world. So, there are general life coaches like me, but then there are also coaches that have their own specialized niche or niche. I never know what the right way to say that is. But like there are coaches that specialize in relationships or health or money. Um, I mean, you name it. There are some really specific niches in the world. And so if you want to work with a coach around, um, I don't know, being an upwardly mobile woman in a male dominated field, there's a coach for you. Um, so you need to identify the issues that you want to work on, and then that's going to help inform the choice that you make in the type of coach that you work with. Um, Coaches come at all different price points. So chances are you can find someone that's in your affordability range. You can work with a coach one on one, or you can work with a coach in a group, and that's going to impact your financial investment. And at this point, most coaches, I'm going to say any coach that I know, has a virtual option, and many of them have only virtual options. So you can work with someone anywhere in the world. I had a client who lives in Belgium, and I live in the United States. So anything is possible in the digital age. If you are looking for a general life coach and you would like to set up a consultation with me, now is a really great time, um, to do that, because I have a holiday offer happening right now. So between now, it is December, no, it's November 29th, 2022. And so between now and December 16th, if you reach out to me in the next 2 weeks to schedule, your free consultation, and we meet by December 31st, and you choose to work with me, I am offering 15% off my 3-month package for new clients. So reach out, and let's set up a consultation and talk about what it could look like for you. So, as you're listening to this, I just want to say that there is a very real possibility that part of you is listening and thinking, this sounds kind of interesting. Like, I would really like to get more information on this life coaching thing. And then there's part of you that's like, oh my God, seriously? Like, you've tried everything, nothing's worked. Why do you think this is going to be any different? It's stupid. You don't have time, you don't have the money, whatever. That's your brain freaking out because you are introducing the idea of change. And that's what our brains do. They freak out. It's totally normal. It means you have a human brain just like the rest of us. What it doesn't mean is that you should stop in your tracks. If you are interested in getting more information about life coaching, you should proceed to do that. Reach out to whoever you think is going to be the best match for you. Get the information so that you can make an informed decision. Tell the freaking out part of your brain it's okay. They're safe. You're going to do this anyway. Hear them. Thank you for your concern, but we are moving forward. And think of it as your first step in learning to train your brain. This is what you will be doing if you choose to work with a life coach, and you're going to be doing it over and over again. And it does get easier, but it's never going to be perfect. You're always going to have drama in your mind. Your brain's always going to come up with stuff. Um, it's just the human condition. Nothing has gone wrong. But I think that if you decide to, start to take some steps and take control of your brain, if you start to think about that part of your brain as a toddler throwing a temper tantrum, and think about what you would do should you find yourself in the supermarket with a toddler throwing a tantrum on the floor, how you would calmly acknowledge that child, you would pick them up, and you would say, okay, we're done now. We're going to keep doing what we need to do. So you can do that with your brain, and you will be glad that you did, because you will find yourself moving in directions that you never expected. You will blow your own mind, and you will create the life that you want to live. So I hope that you found this informative. And again, if you are interested in learning more about working with me as a life coach, please reach out, and we'll set up a consultation. We'll see if it works for you. And if it does, you will get a 15% discount. So I will see you next time. Bye.